1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look like I'm having technical difficulties here, folks. For whatever reason, it just seems to be the season that things are not going my way. But when that happens, you know what I say. I'm a ghetto poet and you didn't know it. So from here on out, all we're going to do is kick it like this here. Uh, 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 uh. To the right.
Express yourself.
Oh, snap now. Man, I can't do that no more. That joint hurt my neck. All you got to do now. Oh, snap now. What's up, Kim and Kim? Well, welcome to the show. This is how we get down like this here. Whatever you do. Whatever you do, Lord.
Do it good.
Oh, all right. Man, I'm dropping stuff tonight. It's just one of them nights.
When you're doing what you're doing.
It's what you're doing when you're doing it. What you look like you're doing.
Express yourself.
So y'all get to see my
Express yourself.
my studio and everything.
You're doing it on the moon.
We're doing it on the moon, y'all. In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now. Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horns do the thing they do. Cuz what's up? Spaghetti-doo-doo-doo-doo. Spaghetti-doo-doo-doo. Spaghetti-doo-doo-doo-doo. But that cuz you did it dog. Oh, some people have everything, and black people don't. But when them other people say something, they better say what we want.
Express yourself.
It's called a remix, y'all. The Rennie remix. We're doing it on the moon.
Do it.
No, do it. No, do it.
Do it.
Javon, hand me my mirror.
Y'all do it. Yeah.
Express yourself.
Express yourself.
That part always make me want to bounce. Oh, y'all ain't know I could do that there, huh? Do it! Oh, damn it. One more again. One more again. One more again. One more. I ain't gonna make y'all sit through all of that, but yo, this is joint. What we came here to do. To express ourselves. Whatever you do. Nah, man, I'm gonna cut it. I just had to get that part more time. Whatever you do it on the moon. Do it in the front room. Do it in the bedroom on the table. No, okay, you talking about something different. So I'm gonna try to behave, folks. But that's the Rogers app. Boom, 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 boom. Skagga-dum, dum, 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 dum. Let me go ahead. Nah, I'm tripping, man. I'm having a good time. This has been a good week for me, people. A lot is going on, as you already know. I ain't telling you nothing. Let me just tell y'all a secret. You guys probably don't know this, So I got to make sure nobody is listening but us. But Black Lives Matter. Anyway, welcome to the show tonight. I'm in a good mood because we're in a good place. Kind of, sort of. I mean, we're still living under the cloud of COVID-19, but I'm a somewhat of a realist optimist. I'm a real optimist, something like that, an optimist real time. I don't know what I am, but I just believe that things are going to get better. So, I try to encourage you guys to do the same, take control of your lives, whatever. But right now, what we're talking about in everywhere, here, there, and everywhere, is Black Lives Matter. I call it the current temperature here in America. Now, more than any time in my 60 years of living, I know y'all don't believe I'm 60, but I really am. November 10, 1959. It has never been this safe to be black, or so we think. I affectionately call Black Lives Matter America's flavor of the month. Every week, I try to teach, I preach by contrasting today's social issues to a time in our country's history to kind of make you understand and somewhat validate my assertions to those people that just kind of lurk and look for me to say something so they could have something to talk about, so they can live vicariously through my shit. Go ahead, I hope it smells good. Anyway, tonight is no different. Tonight I'm going to compare, believe it or not, George Floyd to Rosa Parks. Yeah, I'm kind of that history bird that's a buff and a nerd. So that's me. But I try to bring the message to you as it comes to me. I choose to deliver my message devoid of conspiracy theories because I feel that all that inflammatory rhetoric is just bullshit. It's sensationalism and bullshit. It may be bullshit on multigrain wheat bread, but no matter what else you add to it, it's still bullshit. Tonight I'm going to talk about primarily three things. Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. I'm going to talk about the cause and effect of police and reporting other cops. And thirdly, I'm going to talk about the bearers of our message and who should be telling our stories. Should it be someone like Oprah or other opportunists? I also want to give a shout out and honorable mention to Nancy Pelosi on one knee with her kente cloth scarf around her neck. And mail-in voting. So tonight's podcast is affectionately titled Black Lives Matter, America's Flavor of the Month. Let's get with it. The Black movement and symbolism. I had an argument with a girlfriend over how we got to this point and how George Floyd became the symbol of the Black Lives Matter movement. Warning. Here's where I compare Rosa Parks to George Floyd. If we look back on history, Rosa Parks was not the first lady to not stand up or give up her seat. I was the director of radiology at a hospital in Montgomery, and I was the executive director of a county clinic in Tuskegee, Alabama. There I learned a couple of things that I didn't know, and I thought I knew history. In Montgomery, I learned that the local legend is the first woman to refuse to give up her seat was a 15-year-old unmarried young lady. And because she was 15, because she was pregnant and unwed, she was deemed unfit to become the face of the Montgomery bus boycott. Rosa Parks, on the other hand, when it happened to her, she was a church lady, she was attractive, she was an upstanding seamstress, and she became the perfect face for the movement. In Tuskegee, I learned. Now, I graduated from George Washington Carver Senior High School in New Orleans, somewhere in my orange. Our colors were orange and green. Back in the days, they used to say we look like pumpkins, whatever, man. I thought I knew a lot about Carver, you know, the peanuts, soybeans, and this, that, and the other, and what he did for Tuskegee Institute, or Tuskegee, what went on to be Tuskegee University. But one thing I learned when I was when I became the executive director of the County Health Center in Tuskegee, I learned that they had these old tapes, these old videos of George Washington Carver, and he had this real high pitched, squeaky voice, and I was like, wow, his voice so high pitched and so squeaky. And the chief of staff told me, she said, that's because he was castrated. I said, what? I never heard about that. One of the stories, there are basically two stories. I'm only going to tell you about one. One of the stories is that he was castrated because they realized his genius at a very early age. So to ensure that he did not procreate, thereby creating other geniuses, they snipped his puppies. Why do I talk about Carver? Why did I bring that up? And what does it have to do with Black Lives Matter? Damn it, they castrated him because he was just genius. So think about that the next time you call a protester a looter or something like that. The things that have been done to us makes looting and destroying a little property and setting things afire, not to dismiss it, not to say that I condone it, but I keep things in context. And the things that were done to us pale in comparison to the things that we do to an establishment. So I'm going to move on. Why is all of this pertinent? Because just like the media went on a feeding frenzy to discredit George Floyd and Avery Arbery and every other black person that was killed by police, sadly, Dr. King and the SCLC knew that the face of the movement would be vilified and discredited. So they had to pick the right person. Why wasn't Trayvon Martin, this innocent kid carrying Skittles and iced tea, why wasn't he the face of the movement? Despite the fact that this kid was pursued, somehow Zimmerman got off scot-free. So why George Floyd? Why did we never learn about where he supposedly passed the counterfeit $20 bill? Was the bill ever confiscated and tested for fingerprints? But I'm kind of digressing. Let me take it back. I taught my kids it takes a set of circumstances to create a situation. And that situation ultimately results in what I call divine intervention of destiny, divine destiny. In this case, it really took a set of circumstances that I call a trifecta. It took Breonna Taylor, Avery Arbery, and George Floyd in rapid succession. The circumstances, Breonna had once dated the suspect that was already in police custody already in the police custody in Louisville. Arbery had the misfortune of looking at a house under construction and was hunted down and shot. Finally, Georgia allegedly passed a $20 bill. Let's think about this. Right now we're going through this, they don't want to call it a recession, but we're going into this economic downturn because we've all been locked up for so long, no pun intended, as a result of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So when we see some of these videos of cops, you know, doing the electric slide or the Dougie or whatever they're doing, they're dancing with some people in the community, and I condone that. I like that. But it would have been much easier if 4 cops put up $5 and said, what was he trying to buy? You understand? That would have been the easy thing to do. But certainly what happened wasn't supposed to happen. But I'm sure to protect the store owner, whoever called the police, they're not releasing that information. I don't know about it. If you do, share it with me. But I'm sure that it's probably being held close to the vest to prevent that person from being harmed, and I understand that. But this preponderance of circumstances is something greater than all of us. This preponderance of circumstances said that enough is enough. Just as God used a drunkard named Noah, it seems that the most flawed person became the face of this movement. That's the contrast between George Floyd and Rosa Parks. You know, I could do that, huh? 360, baby. When we think about policing the police, we ask ourselves a series of questions like, why don't police step in when other police are behaving badly? Chicago PD is my new favorite police show. You know, police are now the new cowboys. Growing up, you know, there were cowboys and they were like the heroes. Now it's police shows. And that's to give police a good name, because I guess about 90% of them are good. But it's always that 10% that's not doing the electric slide, that's not doing community policing and being part of the community simply because they don't live there. We have these shows to kind of show just how difficult being a police officer is. But on Chicago Police, Hank Voigt is the head of this unit. And I know some of you guys, I feel like this preacher you're not talking about now. I know somebody out there know what I'm talking about. But no, Hank Voigt is probably the kind of police that I would be if I were a cop. But Hank Batiste wouldn't have the latitude to do some of the things that Hank Voigt do to get results, especially when he does these fatherly things to protect his unit, people on the street, and to fight the politics of a shady Chicago police administration. And this is probably more true to life than we want to know about or we care to admit. Last week's show detailed what happens when cops police cops, or they report bad cops. Last week's show told the story of the only black cop in Hank Voigt's intelligence unit, Officer Kevin Atwater. He's riding with this white cop, and the white cop jumps out the car profiling this black kid carrying some sneakers in a duffel bag. He follows the kid in, a scuffle ensues, he kills the kid, and they find out that all he had in the duffel bag was not dope, not guns, it was a pair of sneakers that he was selling to someone. The racist white cop has subsequently killed himself. The program ends after Atwater reports this white cop and what he was doing and why the stop and nothing about this kid's death was righteous. As the program goes off, Atwater's going home. He's accosted by another cop, and as he stands to say, I'm right here, what's up? What you want to do? You know, you want to handle this like man or what? Man to man, you want to handle this like men? And suddenly, this line of flashing police lights and these unmarked cars and police cruisers start to flash. And it's the uncles and the daddy and the cousins and the other cops who's telling Atwater, basically, watch your back. You don't report other cops. So on TV, unlike real life, Atwater is protected by Hank Voigt and his elite intelligence unit. But they don't get the support of patrol units on the street when they need it. In real life, cops know the code of the street applies to them too. Snitches get stitches. This means that they may kick in the door and they wind up dead. they may kick in the door and they're on their own. So if they're not killed by a friendly fire, one of their own, they're not given a backup, and they wind up being surrounded by real criminals. Last year, there was a movie came out with Tyrese and this young lady, I can't remember her name, but it was called Black and Blue. I had no idea, but when I started to watch the show, ironically, it was shot or filmed in New Orleans. It's about a female rookie cop who had gone to Afghanistan and what have you, and she came back and she inadvertently caught one of the crooked veteran white cops killing a black kid that he had selling dope for him. She caught it on her body cam. And suddenly she became the focus of their attention. If we can't buy her off, we're going to kill her. She realized that even if she took money or whatever, or she just had morals, so she wasn't about to take the money, but she realized that she was marked for death. In Hollywood fashion, she survived the night, running from the cops and running from the gang that was running this drug clique and the uncle of this clique who just happened to be the kid that they killed uncle. And she went through all of this to expose, to present proof of this veteran white cop and his wrongdoings, because she knew that her word against his and the other crooked cops meant that she would fall. She would lose out. I understand how hard it is to blow the whistle on someone that you're working with. But I think, and maybe this is naivety on my part, but I think if this person was behaving badly and it created a situation in the street where my life was at stake of getting killed by someone randomly who's tired of police brutality and what have you, I would turn that person in. I like to believe that I would. Me and my morals and my righteousness, I'm sure that I would. So let's talk about what I call opportunity and opportunistic behavior. On my page this week, I posed a question to my Facebook family on whether or not Oprah was the correct person to tell our story of Black Lives Matter. Despite Oprah's philanthropy, 60% of those that responded was against her telling the story for obvious reasons. I'm personally against Oprah telling the story for 3 reasons. Oprah has a tendency when she interviews somebody one-on-one to start off with a human interest story and then ambush them. Why is this important? Because if she tells the story, she's working more for the establishment than she is for a cause. If she was working for the cause, I think she'd have spoke up a long time ago. Oprah still owes us, number 2, Oprah still owes us a story about Harvey Weinstein. We've all seen all of these pictures of Oprah and Gayle yucking it up with Harvey drinking drinks and what have you. And let me back up. Oprah and Gayle are the A and B side. Anybody old enough know 45s came with an A and B side. The A and B was the ABC. The other side might be something that, with the Jackson 5, both songs was a hit. So this is what happened with Oprah. She and Gayle are 2 sides of the same coin, because Gayle has been her protege or girlfriend or whatever. But I'm not going there. It is what it is. But they owe us an expose on Harvey Weinstein. Just like Gayle ambushed Lisa Leslie after Kobe died tragically with 9 people, and including his daughter. And she kept telling Lisa Leslie, well, you don't know him. How can you speak for him? That's the same thing. Those are the same questions that we need to be asking Oprah and Gail. So until that happens, she has no credibility with me. Lastly, and this goes back to having an opportunity to do something a long time ago versus having an opportunity. She has a huge following, but she chooses to only do things that's in her economic favor. I guess I refer to her as the Michael Jordan of journalism. Just like Mike, she seems to be more interested in making money than toughly tackling social issues that make sense to the black community. Just like Mike, she could tackle some of these tough issues, tongue twister, and really have an impact on what's going on and what's said and how it happens. Those people that support Oprah, all they talk about is the work that she does. But that's only one half of who she is. I think she negates it with the things that she does to black icons. I think what she doesn't do with some of her white friends discredits who she is. So I'm just going to leave that alone right now. I guess what I'm saying is, if she wanted to, instead of promoting Oprah Winfrey Network and doing things that's easy for her to do, it just appears that she didn't come to this story until white America made it popular to come to this story. So with that, I'm going to leave it alone. It's important about who tells this story, because in history, there's a saying, to the victor goes the spoils. It basically means whoever wins the fight, the war, the skirmish, can tell the story any way they choose to. Imagine how the Thanksgiving story would be told if it was told from the Indians' perspective. Who tells the story of 2020 is very important, not just from the black perspective, but especially from the black perspective. When we talk about black and now brown people are being included in this as well, I think it should be an educated person, something like myself, and I'm not volunteering for it. What I'm saying is you need someone who's educated enough to address it from both sides of the coin, but they don't have a board of directors editing and censoring what they say. They're not working for a conglomerate, or they're not working for just the money. Because what we have to think about, this is 2020. When I talked about the Boston Tea Party, when we say Tea Party, we think of two or more people sitting down drinking tea and discussing something. It does not tell a story of the Sons of Liberty, who became our founding fathers, looting a boat for tea and setting the boat afire. So 20 years from now, 30 years from now, who's going to be reading this story? It's going to be your grandkids, my grandkids, or even my great-grandchildren, and so forth and so on. What story they're going to be reading? What is the story that's going to be pushed? It certainly shouldn't be the Donald Trump version or the opportunistic version, watered down version of what happened in 2020. what happened in this millennium, in the last 20 years, that led to this point where suddenly we are the flavor of the month. I'm not commissioning myself to write this piece of history, but in response to one of my sisters that said, what is everybody doing? Are they doing their part? I'm doing my part to leave a little piece of truth from one man's perspective, infused with over 1,200 of you, because you influence me when I ask you questions, when you respond to some of the things I do, when you show me love, when you tune into my podcast, and so on and so on. I don't trust CNN or Fox or Oprah to tell this important piece of my history about what happened in the first 20 years of this 21st century. America's promises, its love for black people, and everything in black culture is very, very fickle. I say this because every week I use historical references just to illustrate that point. Not because I'm racist, because I'm fed up, because I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. America has never kept her word. We never receive our 40 acres and a mule. The Indians were pushed from their lands, put on a reservation, and when somebody deemed that there was gold in them their hills, then Custer and the cavalry went in and started massacring Indians to drive them off the land. If you don't move off this land, even though you have a deed and a treaty that said these are sacred Indian lands from henceforth, it didn't have an expiration date on the page. But as soon as it was deemed important enough, just like when we talk about Black Wall Street, when we start to talk about Black Wall Street in Oklahoma and Rosewood and some of these other places. So who tells that story of what happens with Black Lives Matter in 2020? 2020 truly matters. And my tongue is getting tied because I try to make light of it, but it really upsets me. It really pisses me off, to be honest with you. After America signed over the land to the American Indians and then took it back, they named their baseball team the Cleveland Indians. Then they renamed the American Indians Native Americans. I can't make this up. But in closing, I'm going to say this. Given what has happened in the past, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, I'm thinking about this mail-in voting, and I just had to mention this. Given what's happened in the past, with mail-in votes supposedly being disqualified in Georgia, in Texas, in Ohio, in Florida, in gubernatorial races, and most of these races wind up being tilted toward the Republican side. I would hate to gamble the most important election of this century, starting off this decade with some mail-in votes that were either discarded, not counted, or counted as they want them to be counted. So call me a conspiracy theorist if you will, but I'm just smart enough to realize that I could find a reason, because it's been done before, to discredit or disqualify or disregard some votes to get a desired outcome. So when I think about it, cheating is what Republicans do. I put nothing past them in trying to secure another 4 years. Every poll says something So you best believe they're out thinking of a way to overcome and tilt the scale in their favor. We have to remove any possibility they have for cheating, or else we're headed to another 4 years, and we spell another 4 years of 45 as destruction, plain and simple. So people, I want to smile. I want to leave you with a smile. I want to tell you this. I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you coming in week after week. I appreciate you giving me undivided attention. For those people that are still losing people, those people that are still dealing with COVID-19, my little piece of the world, we are safer here. But I see things turning around in some areas and some things just starting to spike. Those things we have no control over. So I'm going to tell you this. And I've always, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've been leaving you with this. Keep on protecting yourself, and remember, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live. Those people in Georgia, I want to send a huge shout out to you. Those people stood in the hot sun for 6-7 hours to make sure that their vote was heard, to make sure that their voice counted, their voice was heard, and their vote counted both ways. To that, much love. My head goes and my heart goes out to you. As always, in parting, I say it. I got something to say, so it must be true. Go to my YouTube channel. Check out the podcast that you miss. Share my video with friends, and don't forget to subscribe. It don't cost you nothing. If it comes up and say, do you want YouTube, subscribe to YouTube TV, say no, and then continue on till you get to my show, till you get to my channel, or go to the my page, and I'm gonna have a link there. Just click on that link and it'll get you there. Check out tonight's podcast if you came in late. I apologize, I got a little emotional at some point, and it's why I get so lively coming into the show, because some of these things are so serious. I feel that we owe it to my children's children, and their children. So, I'll see you next week. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. Remember, I can't say I love you enough for being here and letting me be who I be. The message comes to me and I try to deliver it to you without all of the other nonsense. Because I get caught up, that's me. But the message is for real. Love, peace, hair grease. I'm out of here, folks. Y'all be good. Take care of yourselves and each other. And keep on doing it. Remember, Black Lives Matter for about another month. Good night.